All right. In this video, we're going to talk about how to make prefabs. They're incredibly useful. So what prefabs are is when you create essentially a blueprint, just like a class, and then you instantiate it a bunch of times. So you can use as many copies of this thing as you want, but it gives you one master plan. But then you can edit one, and it affects all of them. So for example, in my game right now, all I have is this blue beach ball that can roll left or right with some force on this rigid body. And that's it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull in another sprite. Okay, so I'm going to go to my sprites folder because I've got everything nice and organized. And I'm going to make some coins that I can pick up. Okay, so, the layering's off. So I'm going to, instead of the sorting layer here for the sprite renderer, which just says, how do I draw it? Again, nothing to do with interaction with like physics or other mechanics, but just where do I show it? I'm just going to say, hey, show it in the front. Okay, and there we go. All right, so it's showing in the front, but right now it doesn't interact, right? If I press play, it's just a picture and a location. It doesn't interact with anything. So what I want to do is at least give it a collider, right? Maybe a rigid body, but at least I want to give it a collider. Definitely a 2D, probably circle would be very good. I'm going to edit that collider because it's a little too big. So I'm just going to zoom in here. And I'm going to make that let's click back on that coin, edit collider, make it a little smaller. And so now what I've got is a collider. So it's got no gravity, and yet when I click play, my ball can thunk into it. Okay. So if I wanted to make a new coin sprite that has the same thing without making a prefab, what I could do is I could right click on this and I could duplicate it. However, then if I go ahead to this one and I say, you know what, and I'm going to zoom out in my scene, I'm going to move one of them over here. If I say, you know what, and I've made so many of these, like maybe Control C, Control V, I make a whole bunch of coins, I throw them all over, and I'm like, this is so great, but shoot, I totally forgot. I really wanted to tag these all as coin. So I could try some selecting all, I could do some parent-child relationships, but essentially I'm going to have to tag every single one a coin, especially if they're in different scenes and so on and so forth. Or I could have one plan for all of these, and that way I edit that one plan and it affects them all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all these duplicate copies. I'm going to delete those. And instead, the way you make a prefab is really easy. I'm going to rename this from coin sprite to coin because now we're going to add some more to it than just a sprite. I'm going to create a folder called prefabs, although you could do this in any folder. I could drag this anywhere. But what I'm going to do is purposely, for organization's sake, I'm going to drag it into my prefabs folder. And as soon as I drag a game object from the hierarchy down here into my projects menu, this will turn blue. It's hard to see, but the color has changed from black, a normal game object that's an individual that I can edit by itself, to blue, say now it's one instance of this blueprint, okay? So now if I were to change this blueprint in the prefabs folder, and again, I could have dragged this coin into any location in my project folder. I'm just using prefabs for organization's sake because that's a pretty common thing across Unity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, you know what, I want to add a rigid body. So, we're on collider. Let's do rigid body 2D. Okay, so it's got it. It's got gravity. It's got a mass. Let's just click play. And whoa, even though I only edited the blueprint down here in my project, I never touched the one in my hierarchy. When I click up here, it has that same rigid body because editing the blueprint will affect every instance of it, okay? I could also drag in as many coins as I want. I could drag them directly into the scene to put them in certain locations. So those other two I put in here. I'm going to click F to see where it is. It's right there. I'm going to go to the move tool and I'm going to move it. I'm going to click on another one. I'm going to move it. And now if I zoom out and I click play, they all fall because they've all got rigid body. But you know what? I don't want to use gravity. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to change the gravity scale to 0. And so now I'm going to click play. And only the one I was selected on, this one right here, when I click play, only that one has a gravity of 0, but not all the rest. So what I can do though is say, hey, I really like those changes I just made to this coin. I'm going to go ahead and apply those to all. Revert would say undo all those changes and go back to the master blueprint. But instead I'm going to say, I want to make all of the coins like this. Now when I click play, that applied it to every single coin. Essentially, it applied it to the blueprint, which then went out to all the others. And I could do that with anything. I could say, you know what? I want to tag this one as coin. If I just tag this one as coin, nothing happened to this one. Okay? Nothing happened to the master. But if I go back there and say apply, now every single coin is a coin or tagged as a coin, right? So I could go ahead and delete this. These are really useful for doing things like instantiating game objects or bringing new things into the scene. Things like, say I want to like shoot a laser beam. Every laser that I bring in is going to be a prefab that I made beforehand and is a game object ready-made sitting in my prefabs folder that I'm just going to create on command. Okay, so just quickly to review, I can create any new game object. I'm just going to delete this coin. And notice even though I deleted my last copy of the blueprint's still saved down here in my project folder. And I could bring in as many coins as I want, either into the hierarchy or the scene. Again, I'm going to delete all of these really quickly. So just to review, I can create anything I want. I'll like, whoa, I got this crazy cool beach ball player with all these things I've really worked on. I'm going to go ahead and make the player a prefab. So that way when level 2 loads, so right now I'm going to save my main scene. And I'm going to go, I want to create a totally new scene. And then I'm going to say, and I want my player in it. And as soon as I click player, boom, there goes my player, right? Because he's ready to go. He's got all the attributes from level 1. So the way you do that is you create any game object in the hierarchy, you design it however you want, and then you just grab it and drag it into anywhere in the project folder. However, for organization's sake, putting it in a prefabs folder is really clear. And then if you wanted to bring lots of them into your scene, you could put them wherever you want. And either you can make individual changes to this, where every single change other than the transform is essentially in references. So I could say, I don't know, let's say this one over here, I'm just going to totally get rid of the rigid body. It's got no rigid body anymore. This one over here, I want to get rid of the circle collider. This one over here, I want to get rid of the player component. Whoops, I clicked edit script. But I can remove whatever pieces I want. And because I haven't hit apply, they don't affect the blueprint. If I create a new scene, and I say, no, I don't want to save that scene. That wasn't very good. And I bring in a ball, it's got the rigid body. It's got the collider and the script because I never applied any of those changes. So what that allows you to do is make individual copies that are a little bit different, or find just the right calibration and say, oh man, this ball would be just like, I'm in play mode. It would be so perfect if I just, I don't know, increase the movement speed and the jump force, and now it's just right. And then I go up here and hit apply. And that applies to, well, let's exit play mode. But those values and clicking apply will apply directly to the prefab, and every single ball out there will snap to that. Okay? Hope you enjoyed the video.